Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from the night shift. Morning, night shift, I don't know. I'm waiting for a coworker right now, and then I figured I might as well just keep talking since I've got a lot on my mind. Anyway, apologize for the weird camera angle and if there's a lot of noise. But this is going to be part 2 to the video I made earlier about the speed cameras. See, because earlier I laughed a lot and scoffed a little bit, but you know, it's not my style to make fun of people who disagree with me. I mean, it is kind of funny that there are people actually arguing that a little bit of speed is so much worse than actual drunk drivers. Don't get me wrong, that's fucking hilarious. But this video is going to be me trying to calmly explain why I think what I think. Okay, see, first off, I believe speed and recklessness should be handled by the NYPD, because the NYPD, there's a human element, okay? They can make decisions. Cameras don't make decisions. A camera will make a photo when you're speeding, no matter what the circumstance, whether you're actually doing it to evade danger or whatever the case is, okay? And on top of that, you know, speed in and of itself is not dangerous, okay? What makes it inherently dangerous if it is in excess to such an amount that it becomes reckless, or if there's also some sort of inherent like neglect along with it, like let's say due to speeding and running red lights or weaving without looking in his mirrors through traffic and whatnot. That's what makes speed dangerous, okay? That, and like I said, if it's in like an abundance of, so if you're going 35, 40 miles per hour, that's not so bad. When you're doing 80 through the city, yeah, that's just reckless. Like, you deserve to be pulled over and given every single fine that they can give you. All right. The cameras also make mistakes because they operate on the basis of radar. So let's say two cars are moving in such a way that the radar maybe gets confused a little bit. It'll snap a photo and it'll say you're speeding. These cameras are actually prone to make a lot of mistakes. That's why they have teams of people that sit and review each photo and decide whether you get the ticket or not. And these people sometimes still make mistakes. And the problem with this system is that it's not handled in court, in like a criminal court. It's handled in one of their own personal little, like, New York Department of Finance judges or whatever. The thing is, whether you're guilty or innocent really seems like a coin toss, honestly. And that's why it really feels like a, honest to God, just a revenue gathering scheme, okay? See, this one time the camera like triggered itself wrong and accused me of speeding, and I mathed it out. I gave them the distance of my car, the time in between the frames, the size of my car, everything, and I gave them the formulas and showed the calculations, and they said I was guilty. And then this one time I weaved around the little parked truck and said I was doing it defensively, and they said I was innocent. So it's like, it's random whether you're innocent or guilty. Whereas if you had a police officer doing what police officers do anyway, you know, be right back. Yeah, he has to pick something up from the bakery along the way and hand it over to me so I can further deliver it. But, as I was saying, the speed cameras are a purely mechanical thing, and they will issue you a ticket whether or not you are innocent or guilty. And then it becomes your job to prove your innocence, which a judge may or may not believe. And by judge, I say, I don't know what kind of judge they have there, but you know, it's a little weird. Let's see. If, you know, an officer can determine whether something was, you know, innocent in nature if it was reckless and dangerous, okay? That's one. You gotta remember, Mayor de Blasio won his elections off of hatred of the New York police. Which says a lot about the people in the city, one. Two, says a lot about the mayor and what he believes the NYPD can and can't do. Listen, in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, everywhere else, police enforce speed, and they do an okay job at it. So, when it was this way in New York up to a point, like until de Blasio stepped into power, basically. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's that. The cameras make mistakes. They don't determine who's innocent or not. Okay. And on top of that, you know, like, yes, there are parents out there that are worried about their children in school zones, okay? But let me tell you this, educate your children to not run across the street when the light is green, okay? And that's all I have to say. Like, I never ran across streets as a kid. Like, I fully knew that if I get hit by a car, I'm very dead. Like, And listen, this is the city, okay? You got bicyclists, you got cars, you got pedestrians. The roads are shared. That's why we have a system of lights, okay? Green lights mean go for cars. The little white lights for pedestrians on a thing mean go for pedestrians, all right? Cars get the green light sometimes, pedestrians get their light sometimes. That's just how it works. And then when pedestrians get furious, cars won't stop for them. When the cars have the green light, like, that's just being selfish, I think. The driver is a human being. What did he do? He just wants to get around in his motor transport. Like a bicyclist. Like, does that make sense? Safety, everybody is involved in safety. As a pedestrian, as a parent, you cannot say, no, only drivers are responsible for safety. Everybody has to be safe and everybody has to work together, okay? That's important. And, you know, unfortunately, there have been some parents who have had children who were, honest to God, just crossing the street and there was a car turning at a high speed and hit them, for example. Okay? I'm sorry if you're one of these parents, but the thing is, New York City has a lot of bad drivers, but they also have a lot of good drivers, and it's unfair, based off of the behavior of a couple of bad people, to punish everybody indiscriminately. And by indiscriminately, I mean these cameras will ticket, like, everyone. Like, it even go off by, like, mistake sometimes. That ain't right, okay? You gotta punish the person that did the wrong thing, not everybody, okay? Literally punishing all drivers is like saying, this guy sagging his pants robbed the store, therefore all guys sagging pants rob stores. We all know that's wrong. Yeah, you have people doing that, essentially, just because somebody has a car, right? I don't think that's right. I'll be right back. Got a delivery. Like, I totally understand these parents they want revenge. They want nothing like this to happen to anybody else ever again. It's 100% understandable. But, like I said, you can't punish everybody indiscriminately. This is why we have police. Like, they go around, they patrol the streets, alright? Not mechanical cameras. And, you know, and New York City has cited statistics like a 17% decline in pedestrian casualties, a 60% decline in speeding. First off, I'll tell you right off the bat, just from driving around every single night and seeing this, the 60% decline in speeding is because people know where the cameras are and they just don't speed around the cameras, and therefore the city makes 60% less revenue than when the cameras initially came out. I'll tell you that right off the bat. That's all it is. It's like speed bumps. I think I mentioned this earlier. With speed bumps, you slow down, you go over the bump, and you speed back up. Same deal with cameras. People are undeterred completely. People still speed everywhere all the time. Be right back. So, speed cameras or no speed cameras, reckless scumbags will exist no matter what. Okay? It's a big city full of people. The odds of coming across somebody who's, like, insane are much greater than you would normally get elsewhere. Alright? The 17% decline in pedestrians, I would personally attribute to the intentional congestion of roadways. It's become very popular over the past couple of years in New York City to take 3-lane roadways, 2-lane roadways, and squeeze them down into 1 lane, a little, like, cross-hatched lane here, cross-latched lane there, bicycle path, parking spaces. Parking regulations have been getting stricter in some areas too, which is also like another revenue thing, but you know, traffic is moving slower because the streets are in severe disrepair. The number of lanes available are decreasing. Speed bumps, speed cameras, people braking hard because misaligned red lights, so on. That's why we have congestion issues. On a separate note, the city is trying to, like, get rid of or cap Uber and Lyft because of congestion issues, and perhaps introduce a congestion tax. That's what they're all entertaining the thought of right now. But if you ask me, that's not the answer. You gotta remember, traffic And congestion irritates people. It creates road rage. It makes people speed. That's why they congest the roads and create these cameras. If they didn't congest these roads, if they kept the roads in good shape, if they made sure all the lights lined up properly, red light, green light, green light, green light, green light, there wouldn't be any congestion at all. It would not be a problem. They're just out there for money, is the only thing I gotta say about that. Because if everybody obeyed the laws, if the roads were kept in tip-top shape and cared about, there would not be an issue with people speeding and running over pedestrians, trying to make the green light when it turns yellow and red, all that stuff, okay? So the 17% decline in pedestrian deaths is not due to speed cameras, because people go around the speed camera and continue speeding anyway. It's the intentional congestion of the roadways that's doing it, all right? Because overall, the people are driving a lot slower in the city than they used to. And that's not because of the new speed limits, by the way. It's just because you can't go any faster when it's bumper-to-bumper traffic everywhere. Of course, this is bad for the environment. This is bad for the people. It wastes a lot of time. A lot of resources, too, like cars get used up and so on and so forth. Right? The city doesn't care. They want people to be agitated, they want people to speed, and they want people to pay fines. And the more congested it gets... Oh, and there's another thing I wanted to add. With the congestion, they wanna limit Uber and Lyft drivers, the number of them that is available at any given time. They want to limit them, so I've heard recently. Possibly introduce a congestion tax. The reason being they want to encourage people to use public transport. So, on top of all of this going on, it's like they want you to be stuck in the city, paying the city. And it makes sense. If you can't drive, you don't have the freedom to go where you want to go, when you want to go, which makes you more dependent on the city for all of your resources. You have to, they farm money from their people in this way. It's hard for me to explain, but if you think about it, I'm sure you'll see where I'm going with this, I guess. I'll be right back. So, the city intentionally slows things down, intentionally congests the roadways, and now claims the roadways are congested and that they have to try to convince other senators and whatever to pass a bill to limit the amount of Lyft and Uber drivers on the road. Here is why this ties in with the whole speed cameras thing. Because you guys probably think I'm rambling on nonsense at this point, but it ties in, and I'll tell you how. Because the speed cameras thing is an element of what slows down these roads and also makes them more dangerous, in a sense, because people are more aggravated and just want to get out of there. Speed cameras also cause congestion, and the city wants to limit Uber and Lyft drivers now, the availability of them because of said congestion. So the immediate effect of this is, one, less Uber and Lyft drivers are available at any given point in time, which means people who can't get a ride obviously have to turn to cabs or the subway. If they turn to subway, money goes straight to the city. Speaking of cabs, one just stopped right in front of me and refuses to move. Incredible. Okay, so if people take the subway or buses, it pays the MTA, city, the city organization gets paid effectively. If people choose to turn to cabs, this is good news for cab drivers, okay? But this is also, again, money in the city's pockets, because this raises the value of taxi medallions, right? Because to be a cab driver, I have to drive a cab with a taxi medallion. You can't just get in a car and drive a cab. And these medallions used to cost something like hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million or something like that. And then Uber came in, and then the value of the medallion got smashed so bad that the city lost something like, was it 5 million or $5 billion? I don't know. Big difference in between the two numbers, I know. But the city lost a lot of money on those medallions, and they want that money back. Especially, like, I don't know. The speed cameras are just, so the speed cameras are part of a big dark plot, okay? It's all about revenue and money, and siphoning the money out of the city's residents' pockets, okay? I'll put it to you that way. And people are agreeing with the city. And whoever doesn't agree with the city is automatically an evil Republican scumbag, as we've seen in that article that I've read to you from the New York Daily Post or whatever that thing was. I don't know what to tell you. People are loony. What I attribute the 17% in safety as well is dash cams. People have been, there are still bad drivers out there, and a lot of them, but I'll tell you, over the past 4 years, it has become a little bit less there are actual days now where I don't get a single clip driving all day in New York City, if you can imagine such a thing. Which, me as a YouTuber, you'd think I would think that this is bad news or whatever, but I'm actually very happy with that. Drivers in the city have been improving. And I attribute this to the fact that dashboard cameras are becoming a lot more popular. When I got a dashboard camera, I was pretty much the only guy that had one. Like, I very rarely see another dashboard camera in someone else's car. And I only got that one because de Blasio got elected and crime was on the rise. People were jumping out in front of cars to collect insurance money and shit. And now, every couple of cars that you see, I don't know, every 5th car has a dashboard camera, or every 10th car, something like that. They're slowly becoming very popular, which does a couple of things. One, the drivers having the dashboard cameras don't want to drive like dickheads, because if they get in an accident, they have video proof of themselves being idiots. And other drivers are becoming more aware that they can get caught for dumb shit on dash cams. It's dash cam clips on YouTube are in general somewhat popular, and you have all these road rage videos and whatnot going on. So it's forcing people to slowly but surely be on their better behavior. So people are, essentially becoming good because of this. And I'll tell you what, I have an idea. It's an expensive idea, but an idea that will actually work, alright? Instead of speed cameras, how about everybody with a driver's license originating from New York City is required by law to have a dashboard camera inside their vehicle, on, at all times. It's a strange idea. I need to sit down and think about it. I need to flesh it out a little bit more. But the idea is, and let's say if you can't afford a camera, the city provides you with a cheap $20 Walmart camera or whatever. The idea is, security cameras are a deterrent. Dash cams are a deterrent too, alright? I will tell you that right off the bat. On top of everybody now being a good driver because they don't want to get reported to the city or caught or whatever the reason is, crime will also decrease because every parked car has a dash cam. And you're not going to go down the block infinitely, smashing every car window, ripping out dash cams and whatever. It would be excellent. Plus, you would devalue the dash cam market to such an extent that nobody would break into cars and steal expensive-looking dash cams. I don't know, it's a funny idea, but I thought you guys might find that interesting, that would be a cure. I don't know for speeding, but definitely for reckless driving. A lot less reckless drivers if everybody had a dash cam and if people had the ability to report reckless driving and endangerment of peoples. There's a thought for you. Don't forget, a lot of vehicles in the city are leases. people driving newer vehicles. So the 17% decrease in pedestrian casualties can also be attributed to the fact that these newer vehicles are equipped with collision mitigation or avoidance systems. That's also another thing to consider. Not necessarily a thing to do with speed cameras. Think about it. If 60% people, if almost 60%, for all intents and purposes, let's say a majority of people aren't speeding anymore, why is there only a minor decrease in pedestrian fatalities? You get what I'm saying? It has very little to do with actual speed and speed cameras. This is another thing that people are neglecting to think about or understand. They just like numbers and go, oh, this number is here, so it means it's true. No. So I'm not personally a fan of all the safety equipment these new cars are packing because of all the false positives. I find it annoying. When I drive a newer car, I end up turning it off. But they do play a major role. They do work. That's important, okay? You cannot neglect that. And I also would like to add, in another like additional little footnote or whatever, that I don't have anything against the people that look both ways and cross the street when there are no cars. But you gotta understand, the pedestrians are largely at fault as well, and this is not the driver's fault. It's just that a pedestrian will just walk out in front of cars and not give a crap. Sometimes they'll even scream at the cars. Hell, this morning I was driving and some guy like basically walked out while cars were oncoming and he was screaming F you at all the cars. If I can get the dash cam clip, I'll put it in this video. But pedestrians are equally at fault. As a matter of fact, I would say pedestrians make up the majority of the fault for these things. More food for thought. And you know, the whole thing with the MTA and the Lyft drivers, it's almost as if somebody is lobbying for that. And the roadworks that narrow down all the lanes and all that stuff. I don't know how else to explain it. Somebody somewhere is making money, I'm sure. Drunkenness in the city is also a bit of an issue. You have many pedestrians walking around drunk. The city has also been talking about opening up what they call supervised injection facilities, aka crack houses, where basically addicts go to shoot up. So you're gonna have a lot of like coked up pedestrians running around. No speed cameras in the world are going to save you from a pedestrian. You guys see where I'm going with this. Pedestrians need to be watched as well. It's not just the drivers, okay? There's a lot of things you want in the city, and all these concepts they're considering, and it's all quite frankly, in my mind, in my honest opinion, ridiculous, unnecessary, and not thought through. And the fact that people are blindly agreeing to this disturbs me greatly. So right now, as it stands, they should be prioritizing, making sure drivers are not fatigued, making sure they're not agitated, making sure that things keep moving and as quickly as possible, so that everybody is as focused as possible. Because when people stagnate, their attention wanders elsewhere, okay? And instead, what they're doing is they're just cashing in on it. Does that make sense? They're intentionally creating a hazardous situation and then cash in on it. Additionally, green waves are a great way to regulate speed, right? By green wave, I mean all the lights sequentially turn green. That's a great way to regulate speed because if the light, imagine you're driving down an avenue, and if you go exactly 30 miles per hour, all the lights will turn green. Or if you go exactly 25 miles per hour, all the lights will sequentially turn green. If you go a little bit faster, you're going to be hitting the brakes to stop at the red lights, obviously. And you know, people can speed, but it would be gas, brake, and that gets annoying. Unless you're like one of those douchebags. But you get the idea. There's another thing out there that can be used to keep people driving, you know, reasonably, if it is in fact such a concern. But yeah, like I was saying, with the safety equipment on cars today, with dash cams, with people like speeding regardless because they know there's no cameras in the area, and of course the fact that the information given to us does not correlate. Like I said, the 60% does not correspond with the 17%. There's a very big disconnect there. Okay, and you just got to keep that in mind, that the numbers they throw at you and the reasons they cite are intentionally ambiguous, and they intentionally try to make you angry just to convince you. Like you know, if they don't get their way, automatically they blame Republicans and say Republicans are scum and that children are going to die and that this is Republicans' fault. That's literally what every single news article is telling me, that every single politician is blaming Republicans for children dying. So, but in reality, what they're doing is they're blaming Republicans because they're not getting the easy money. They're not siphoning people's wallets as easy as before. I talk and I talk, and this is going to be one heckin' long video, but... So you've made it to the end of what is now probably going to be a very long video. Thank you.